They read the long afternoon through, while the cold November rain fell from the sky upon the quiet house. They sat in the hall because the parlor was so empty and gray-looking without its wall lit with orange and yellow confetti, and skyrockets and women in gold mesh dresses and men in black velvet, pulling 100-pound rabbits from silver hats. The parlor was dead, and Mildred kept peering in at it with a blank expression, as Montag paced the floor and came back and squatted down and read a page as many times as 10 aloud. We cannot tell the precise moment when friendship is formed, as in filling a vessel drop by drop. There is at last a drop which makes it run over. So in a series of kindness, there is at least one which makes the heart run over. Montag sat listening to the rain. Hi everyone, it is Eleni here, and of course, Rocky, to do our journal review again, our third one, and we are super excited to do this one. This one took a lot of thought and consideration, so I'm going to go by each question and we will go from there. So that was the piece that I just chose, along with the part of the book that I decided to do. The page was page 67, it's actually the first page, part 2, The Sieve in the Sand. 67, and I just read that first kind of passage right here. But I believe this piece, I would end it at page 68 till he opened another book. I would end that song right there. That's when I would kind of fade the music out. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So, first question is the description of the scene. Now, this is the scene where Mildred and Montag lock themselves in the house and read for a whole afternoon, despite Mildred's willingness. She sat there, kind of listened. Yeah, she was involved. But Montag was having a heyday. He loved it. And that was the scene I chose. And the next question, the musical content of this. So this is a very classical piece. It's by Danny Elfman, who is a very, very big piece of the classical music. He's done a lot of pieces. He was in, I have it written down. He was Edward Scissorhands, Willy Wonka, Beetlejuice. Is it called The Nightmare Before Christmas, I think it is? Yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas. He was in a lot of great pieces. He has some great music, and I love him. And that's why I didn't choose this piece because of him. I was going to go see The Girl on the Train. This is where this song is from. It's called Resolution, by the way, from The Girl on the Train. And every time I go to see a movie, I always look at the soundtrack. And he was there, and I absolutely loved this. This was my favorite one. And I thought, this could fit in with something. I really like it. What could this fit into and what part of the book? And I immediately thought of this, and I'll get into why I thought that later. So I'm going to head on to the next question. So the musical content, classical, a lot of pianos, a lot of chimes, violins, all that kind of stuff. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Now there is no lyrical content in this, and that's why I also chose it. This scene to me is about Montag and what he's uncovering and feeling. This whole song is about feeling to me. I think this song can mean something to everybody different, and that's what I like about it, because it truly hits it home and it touches upon a feeling that one may have. And this feeling is Montag and being and discovering the truth and really following his own heart, not listening to what society has told him to know and learn and X, Y, and Z. And I really wanted this piece to be about him and what he's uncovering in his surroundings. And I didn't want lyrics to over exude that and to shadow his moment, because this was his moment and his thoughts and his real desires and what he was thinking in that moment, and I loved that. So the next one is kind of a couple of questions. So does it create a certain mood? Yes, I kind of went over this before. So I chose this song because of its kind of mellowness and once again that classical feel and that beautiful kind of helpful tone that it gives out. It doesn't form the moment, but it helps create the moment. And with Montag's words and his feelings and his description, it really wraps the whole present together and gives you something really strong, and that's what I loved about it. It creates a mood of somewhat strong and uncovering and I don't know what word to use, but it shows a mood of fulfillment and understanding and truthfulness. I like that, truthfulness. It's when he is starting to think for himself and he's reading all these books and he's really knowing, oh, maybe this isn't so bad. And that music really helps uncover that because it's at this soft, mellow tone. But if you really listen to it, you'll kind of hear the underbridges of like a breakout and like that kind of difference of sound. And it doesn't want to break out because it's under this soft, mellow, kind of even tone. But it has this strongness and force that wants to be heard. And this is just like Montag. He wants to be heard. And these books want to be heard. And I love that about that. And so the next question is, are there parallels between the lyrics and the characters? So I'm just going to sub out lyrics and put in like musical content. So once again, this whole piece to me is about Montag and his books. And I didn't want the lyrics or the musical content to overshadow that. I wanted it to grow. I wanted it to help it like further his things and his thoughts. And this piece really takes what Montag is saying and enhances it. It really adds to this part of the book, and I love that. I love that it gives a little oomph of kind of mystery and understanding and a tone that needs to be touched on of kind of softness and innocence, a little bit of an innocence. That he's still innocent, but he doesn't want to be. He wants to break this mold. And so the parallels, I think, are between what he's saying and the actions that he's thinking and this music that's, once again, that underbridges of a breakout and that kind of loud kind of tone that it wants to go upon. And that's why I really like it. So operate as a sound effect. So I think I said this before, but if I were to be directing this scene, I would want this music in the background, and I would want a narrator saying the parts that I said besides the Montag part, and he would pitch in. But another thought I did think was the narrator says all of that, and you see Montag saying these things, but he's not actually saying these things. You see that you hear the narrator saying it. You don't hear Montag saying it. And you may ask me why I do that, why I would do that, and I would do that for the effect of power and importance that this piece gives you, because I think a lot of people will take this piece for granted, but I think this is the part where Montag really gets his fire to do something. And, after Mildred's death, he started Mildred, did I say Mildred? Clarice, sorry. After Clarice's death, she lit the match, but he started the fire in his own self, not the actual fire burning, you know what I mean? No pun intended. So this was his fire. This is what got him going. And I want, whenever a narrator speaks for me in any movie or any book, I always take that in, and I always kind of think about it twice. Because whenever a narrator says something, it's 10 times more important. At least for me, and I think to a lot of other book readers or movie critics, when a narrator says something, it's going to play a part. And I want this narrator to have a big a part of this movie, and that's why I would have it there. So I would have him say all of this. I would say have him say Montag's part in the parts that I read, especially when he's quoting a book, because these books he's taken to heart. It captured him. It has a little piece of his heart now. And that's what I would do. So I think you would call it a sound effect, but I would have the music as the forefront, all the action going on, and the narrator speaking throughout the whole thing until the top of page 68, I would think. Yes. And when Mildred starts to talk, I take back what I said earlier. I would have that music start to fade out. And then I would have their conversation starting, and I would start to hear the rain pittering and pattering. You wouldn't hear it in the beginning when the narrator was speaking. You would just hear the music and the narrator. And then at that point of page 68, I would really have that conversation start to grow back up. No music, and everything would be focused on Mildred and Montag's conversation, because that's when it takes the center stage. The center stage is no longer Montag's feelings and his reading and his book. It's now about Mildred and this fight that's about to happen. And that is that part. And then the next question is, that's it. That is the end of our journal assignment. This is me and Rocky signing out. Thank you. We had a blast. And listen to Resolution by Danny Elfman on the Girl on the Train. Beautiful piece. You will love it like I do. And we do. Have a good day.